I never tell jokes. I tell anecdotes and stories, sometimes embellished, but never jokes. And even when I say something is a joke, it usually isn't. It's a story, a real one, something that actually happened. That was the style George Burns lived by for more than 8 decades in the spotlight. He wasn't loud. He didn't rush. He simply stood there, cigar in hand, and let time do the work. For nearly 80 years, George Burns was America's favorite comedian. He built a career that stretched from vaudeville to radio, from black and white television to Hollywood films, surviving every major shift in entertainment. By the end of his life, he had earned a fortune estimated at over $30 million. Many assumed that wealth would pass directly to his family, especially his 2 adopted children. But in March of 1996, George Burns made a final decision that stunned everyone who thought they knew him. He removed his children entirely from his will. Every dollar went elsewhere. When the details became public, his family was left with nothing but silence and unanswered questions. Those closest to him later said there were parts of his life George never shared, and the truth behind that final decision went back many years. George Burns was born on January 20, 1896, in a small apartment on the Lower East Side of New York City. His birth name was Nathan Birnbaum. He was the 9th of 12 children born to Dora and Louis Birnbaum, Jewish immigrants who had fled hardship in Eastern Europe. Life in their home was crowded and difficult. The family lived in 3 small rooms where warmth came more from bodies than blankets. His father worked long hours as a cane maker, earning barely enough to survive. His mother took in laundry to help stretch what little money they had. Meals were simple and often scarce. Potatoes and onions were common. Bread was a luxury. Yet amid the struggle, there was laughter. Yiddish humor filled the apartment, and that rhythm of speech and timing stayed with George for life. Everything changed when he was 8 years old. His father died suddenly at the age of 47. With no savings and no safety net, the family collapsed into crisis. George left school after the 5th grade to help support them. He shined shoes on street corners for a few cents at a time, standing in the cold for hours. He joined a small children's singing group to earn extra money, but even that ended badly when a promoter disappeared with their pay. On more than one night, George slept outside, hungry and scared. Those experiences hardened him early. He later said they taught him how to survive without complaint. As he grew older, he worked whatever jobs he could find. He sold newspapers. He rolled cigars. He snuck into burlesque theaters just to watch comedians command a room. He was fascinated by how laughter could be shaped, controlled, and released. During his teens, he nearly drowned while attempting to swim across the East River. The experience terrified him, but it also ignited a reckless determination. Around this time, he began experimenting with stage names. George Burns came from a mix of family nicknames and a coal company he once stole from to keep his family warm. Reinvention became a habit. At 14, he ran away from home and joined a traveling performance group. His first paid stage appearance ended in disaster. He forgot his lyrics, froze, and was booed off the stage as coins were thrown at him. He was fired immediately. Instead of quitting, he kept moving, performing anywhere that would have him. Ferryboats, street corners, back rooms, and rough vaudeville houses became his training ground. Hunger and failure were constant companions, but he believed he belonged on stage. When World War I began, he tried to enlist in the Navy but was rejected for being too short. Refusing to give up, he disguised himself as a woman and joined entertainment troupes traveling to perform for soldiers. It was dangerous, but he succeeded. Reinvention once again kept him alive. By the early 1920s, he was still struggling, still searching for something that worked. That changed in 1923 when he met Gracie Allen. Their first performances together revealed something unexpected. George planned to be the star, but audiences couldn't stop laughing at Gracie's innocent, illogical delivery. George recognized it immediately and stepped back. He became the straight man. Gracie became the center. That decision defined their success. They married in 1926, blending their personal and professional lives completely. Radio, vaudeville, and film followed. Gracie's health issues were hidden from the public, but George knew how fragile she truly was. Despite her condition, she performed tirelessly, becoming one of the most beloved comedians in America. Their radio show reached tens of millions of listeners. Their television sitcom later helped define the modern family comedy. George handled the business, the writing, and the investments. During the Great Depression, he quietly bought foreclosed property while others spent freely. That foresight protected them when work slowed. Behind the scenes, their marriage was not perfect. George later admitted to a brief affair early in their relationship, something that haunted him with guilt for the rest of his life. Gracie forgave him without confrontation. That forgiveness became a private bond that never broke. Gracie retired in 1958 as her health declined and passed away in 1964. George was devastated. For years afterward, he kept an empty chair on stage and spoke to it as if she were still there. Audiences cried with him. Without Gracie, his career faltered, but he refused to disappear. He rebuilt himself as a solo performer, one story at a time. In his later years, George Burns experienced an unexpected resurgence. At age 80, he won an Academy Award. Films like The Sunshine Boys and Oh, God! Made him a symbol of longevity and wisdom. He smoked cigars openly, joked about death, and made aging part of his act. He survived heart surgery, serious injuries, and near-death experiences, always returning to the stage. When he turned 100 in January 1996, America celebrated him as a legend. 2 months later, he died quietly at home. When his will was revealed, shock followed. His entire estate was donated to charities and medical institutions. His adopted children received nothing. To some, it seemed cruel. To those who understood him, it was deliberate. George Burns believed in self-reliance, endurance, and giving back to institutions that helped others survive hardship, much like he once had. George Burns lived exactly as he performed. Calm, observant, unrushed. He turned pain into timing, hardship into wisdom, and silence into laughter. His life was not a joke. It was a story, and like all good stories, it ended exactly the way he chose.